Is he going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, but what, if he doesn't do it, he's gone. The two leading politicians of the last 40 years are Peter Mandelson and Nigel Farage. It was clear that this was going to explode.
Hello and welcome to Harry Cole Saves the West. Just 45 minutes ago, President Trump touched down in the United Kingdom for his long-awaited state visit. Tonight we ask, is Britain on the brink of a Trump-style revolution? Prime Minister Keir Starmer is drowning in scandal. The UK economy is circling the drain and a tidal wave of unchecked illegal immigrants pushed 150,000 furious citizens onto the streets in a collective howl of anger. Labour's whopping majority, worthless. The party, rudderless. Bankrupt of ideas. A government on life support. I hate to say it, but I believe our once Great Britain is on the fast track to becoming a failed state. Tonight we talk to Maurice Glasman, a peer, a thinker, and intriguingly, the only Labour politician invited to Donald Trump's inauguration. Lord Glasman, welcome to Harry Cole Saves the West.
Well, I hope you're saving it.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Americans think this country is completely broken. We're jailing people for tweets. We can't control our borders. Our economy is in the toilet. 6.5 million people languishing on benefits. It feels to me there's no pride in this country anymore. How does that make you feel? And how does it make you feel that our reputation around the world is in such dire straits?
Yeah, it was shocking when I went to the inauguration. I mean, you would have thought that our country was governed by people who protected paedophiles and Pakistani rape gangs. I mean, that was the mood.
I felt it myself.
You're picking up on the mood of a certain kind of America. I mean, don't forget, Harry, that this country is the greatest place in the world to live. It's a beautiful country. It's a magnificent country. We have a culture and a way of life that is unsurpassed. I mean, I really believe in it. I think that we've had 50 years since Thatcher, in fact, of essentially government stupidity. They don't get it. But I think, you know, things must change and things must turn. I mean, I'm completely committed to industrial strategy. I think that's vital. We've got to build up our armed forces properly. We've got to protect our borders. So I think that our country has had really bad periods before. This isn't one of the worst by any means. I mean, the Great Depression was very bad. Enclosures was awful. I mean, we've had civil war. So, Harry, our country is great, and we've got to strengthen our democracy, restore the integrity of Parliament, the police. These are the ways. But I think the mood has changed, and people really believe in our country, and they're willing to really commit to it.
You spend as much time as I do often in America. Well, I've moved there now, but people the second they hear your accent, they say, "What's going wrong?" They mostly say England. Well, what is going wrong in England? I mean, what do you answer when people say that?
I said, "Yeah, you haven't got the whole story. You should come over." I mean, it's an insane proposition. I mean, London is a great city to live in. It's the best city in the world.
It's not without its problems, though, is it?
Who isn't? You're in DC. You're talking about not having problems.
Yeah, well,
I mean, DC is a wipeout. I mean, Detroit is a wipeout. America has got much more severe racial, violent problems, a huge underclass, real disaffection. I mean, you're living in a country with real disaffection. So what I say to Americans when they say that to me is, come over to England and you won't want to leave. You know, it's much better than America.
One thing that America seems to be getting right, that Britain is not, and as one of the issues I think that we can learn from each other is, Donald Trump's just had another month of zero crossings on the southern border. It's zero catch and release. Starmer has his one-in, one-out deal that literally cannot get off the ground. Record highs, heading for a record high of small boat crossings this year. Why is one leader recently elected able to stop things and another incapable? I
mean, that's an extraordinary achievement by Donald Trump, and I recognise that. I'd like to talk about Donald Trump a bit, but obviously the problem for us is that we haven't really grasped the possibilities of Brexit. Brexit was a magnificent thing. If you want to believe in your country, believe that we voted for Brexit against all odds. That's what gives me huge hope in my country. People want democracy, people want sovereignty. And what we've still got is this the ECHR,
the Strasbourg Court, the Human Rights Act.
I've argued in your sister paper, the Sunday Times, that we have to withdraw from the ECHR, have to scrap the Human Rights Act. People want governments to act.
And Britain will not be able to have anywhere near the impact that Donald Trump's had. His secret sauce unless they take some radical action.
Well, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for action.
Is Keir Starmer a man to take radical action? The human rights lawyer, technocratic, and he promised competent, but currently incompetent Prime Minister. Is he the one to do it?
Well, let's see how he goes. I mean, Keir Starmer is, I think, pretty shocked by the reality of being Prime Minister. I think
that's pretty damning. I mean, surely he should have known what's coming.
He comes from a class of lawyers, you know, and they think the world is made of words, not of boats, for example. They think if they pass... He's got to get with it, and he's got to absolutely scrap the ECHR, get out of the human rights, put the Royal Navy in the Channel, double down on Ukraine. That's how
he's had 14 months to do all this, and you know he's got his cabinet. You know, surrounded himself by fellow lawyers. Lord Herman, the Attorney General, saying that Britain can never leave the ECHR. It sounds like a prime minister is unable to cope. Is he going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, but if he doesn't do it, he's gone. I mean, he's got a... I mean, Labour can die... Like the Conservative Party, let's look at that. It's a great party, historically, the Conservative Party.
It tends to bounce back, but it takes a generation, right?
Well, this is their worst defeat since 1832 last time, and it's not getting any better for them. I mean, I liken them to
We can talk about the Corn Laws later.
No, but that's a very serious thing.
No, it is. I mean, but it took them 30 years to come back.
Conservatives now, they're like ghosts. They speak to us, but we don't hear. They live amongst us, but we can't see them. Labour can go that way.
Yes.
He's got to act.
You've said Labour, you know, borders and immigration are existential for Labour. Are you suggesting that if Keir Starmer doesn't get radical, he's going to lose the next election?
He's not just going to lose the next election. He's going to leave as his legacy the destruction of Labour as a force in British politics.
I mean, so are you saying that he's not? If he doesn't do this, then they should, you know, a new leader should be elected?
Look around and tell me who you want. I mean, Keir Starmer has got to grasp the situation, be a prime minister. No, it's not that. It's just that there's been a complete atrophy of Labour thinking. New Labour, Peter Mandelson, was the most serious Labour politician
we'll get on to him in a moment.
Of the last 40 years. And look where he took us.
It sounds to me like you are looking at a party you've been a member of and loved and fought for is in denial. You seem to be the only one that's actually saying this out loud. Well,
it's very difficult when you've been inculcated for 40 years that the world is a certain way, that it's a borderless world, it's a technological world, it's a globalised world.
But it was the Labour Party that told us that.
Well, they were just drawing on Thatcherism. I mean, Tony Blair immaculately consummated what Margaret Thatcher
he took it and ran with it, though, right? I mean, globalisation is very much a new Labour mantra.
Look at the meaning of Thatcherism. The meaning of Thatcherism, in the end, is our deindustrialisation and the empowerment of the Chinese Communist Party. All the capital went to China, no free and democratic unions, 24 hours a day. We have got to reindustrialise. We've got to show penance. What I'm saying is that this period from 79 until now is liberal globalisation.
And are you saying that has to die?
That needs to die. That's over.
Do you really think Keir Starmer? I mean, I think Donald Trump's doing a pretty good crack at reshaping the world order. Is Keir Starmer going to be the man standing next to his side doing it here?
When history takes a turn like it has now, the election of Donald Trump last year was a huge turning point. The first term, you know, I say history repeats itself, first as farce and then as tragedy. Yeah. His first term was the farce. Now we've got the tragedy as for real.
What's the tragedy? What's the tragedy there? What is he getting? What is he getting? First of all, what is he getting right? We've talked about his sort of secret sauce on the border. What else is he getting right, and then what is he getting wrong?
Well, I think what Trump gets absolutely right is the primacy of politics over law. He understands that.
He certainly does that, yeah.
So I view Donald Trump as a figure of historical importance. And this is very difficult for the left to understand. They think he's a buffoon, they think he's a fool.
That's their comfort blanket. That's the derangement syndrome they let themselves delude themselves with.
Julius Caesar was a bankrupt shagger who had to basically invade
all great leaders are flawed, right? Yeah.
I mean, Napoleon Bonaparte was a perverted dwarf, but these are huge historical figures. Trump represents the end of an era of globalisation and the beginning of the era of national economic strategy, the industrialisation plans he's got, the incentives he gives to capital. Tariffs, a huge thing here. So all of that is absolutely necessary for this change of era. And what's necessary for my party, for my Prime Minister and for Labour is to understand that this is a socialist moment, nation-state, industrial
Do you really think that is, though? Do you really think this country is crying out for socialism?
Absolutely. And I think America will go that way. I mean, I've spoken to Steve Bannon a lot. He wants state-led industrial strategy.
I mean, they'll probably call it something else, though,
They
right?
do call it something else. But what I'm saying is...
Where do you see it? How would you describe it?
Describe Trump?
Yeah.
I describe Trump as in the tradition of Huey Long, you know, the old Louisiana governor, who is very interested in mobilising state power in order to renew the national economy through industrial investment. So this is, I call him a populist in the American tradition. But what I'm saying is, if you look at Labour's history, if you look at Labour's what it's actually done, and I'm not including Tony Blair in that story.
You don't
Labour wanted sovereignty, parliamentary sovereignty, nationalisation, you know, the utilisation of the state to benefit the people, and particularly the working class. Another area that is fascinating about the new era, I mean, in the era you grew up in, who were the working class? They were the left behind. Now they decide elections, Harry. Now they are the decisive force.
And one thing they've decided, if you look at the polls, they've clearly decided that Keir Starmer and Keir Starmer's Labour Party, which doesn't have the intellectual heft that you have, it doesn't have, really, from where I can see, much of a political instinct or even a guiding principle. Is it too late for Keir Starmer, given that he's had his chance, he's got in, he's won, he's got achieved power, but power for what sake? Can he claw this back? Or is it,
Look,
it too late?
I mean, the arithmetic says there's 4 years to go. I mean, Margaret Thatcher, when she was elected in '79, you're too young to remember.
Just about.
The first 18 months were hopeless. There was a battle between the West and... No, it was just the Falklands. It was Geoffrey Howe's budget. That was a real turning point. And then there was the privatisations. Then there was the council house sales. Now, no one remembers Margaret Thatcher as a dithering, useless... But if you, Kate, tuned in just about the end of 1980, you'd have thought she was...
When you look at the government in this country, and you'll see them all lining up to welcome Donald Trump tomorrow, who gives you hope? Obviously, Starmer, I think you've made your voice pretty clear. Rachel Reeves is obviously just drowning under a mountain of debt. She's boxed herself in on taxes. She doesn't exactly scream, you know, the sort of person that's going to do massive interventions in the market. Is there anyone sitting around the cabinet table that you think they could be the one?
Well, there's three that I really respect, and I think they're head and shoulders above the rest. The first is Shabana Mahmood.
No sort of traditional left-winger on law and order and borders.
She's immaculate. All eras. The first responsibility of government is protection of the border and civic peace. And the idea that you know, that you can nick people's phones, that you can go shoplifting and there's no punishment for that is ridiculous.
Do you see her as a future leader? I mean, when she got the job as Home Secretary, there was an absolutely disgusting reaction to that, purely because of her faith, that she was considered, you know, a sort of infiltrator. If you look at some of the stuff online...
That's what I'm saying. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Shabana Mahmood is a patriot.
Yeah.
Shabana Mahmood is devoted
she wants
to
She wants to castrate pedos. Like, I mean,
well, that is
not a traditional... Well, I'm up for it. Yeah,
I'm up for it too.
Let's bring it on.
So what I'm saying, Shabana Mahmood is Home Secretary, and when she was a Justice, it was the same. She's diligent, she's hard-working.
No, I've said that to a few people.
And the second one is John Healey at Defence. He's recognised what a catastrophe he was left. I mean, we've got less than 70,000 troops. Now, we have to double the size of the army.
Which was a Labour promise to return it back to 100,000. They somehow
it's going to go further.
They haven't done that.
It's going to go further. What I'm saying is, just look at what John Healey is doing. Not only what John Healey is saying, and he's also brokered a very interesting partnership with the Ukrainian army. So we are now, our country, Great Britain, is now the very strongest ally of Ukraine in Europe. Ukraine has industrial power, Ukraine has agricultural power, Ukraine has the best army in Europe.
And it wants to buy a lot of arms off us if we can make them quick enough.
And they want to do it with us. Our industrial strategy will be a partnership with Ukraine for weapons production.
Who's the third?
Steve Reed.
Okay, there's an on you. Not a box of household name in this country, let alone America.
Everything he does...
The Housing Secretary.
Yeah, and everything he does is diligent and correct. He's very good. What I'm saying is there is talent, and there's talent in the party, but what we don't have... which everybody knows, absolutely respect Morgan McSweeney, who I think has a strong.
Do you think do you think Keir Starmer can survive without his right-hand man, the guy that put him in that office, and the guy that's trying to, as far as I can see, keep him reality-based to what voters actually want?
I mean, the idea that Morgan McSweeney is a liability to Labour is crazy. He's really an excellent political operator, and he's a Labour loyalist. So what I'm saying is there's talent in that place.
Which one, before we move on, which one of those three do you think would be a Prime Minister next? Should Shabana Mahmood?
Yeah. That's right, but I mean, she's not moving for that.
No.
What I'm saying is...
she's got to do a damn good job in the Home Office to survive.
Look, Home Secretary is considered the graveyard of English politics.
It produces Theresa May. That was great, wasn't it?
Really effective.
Good industrial strategy,
and Brexit. Yeah, look at that. Corporate governance. Do you remember that? No, I mean, what I'm saying is Labour's got to be Labour. It's got to actually relearn how to act.
Can you do that in government, I think, I suppose, is the question I'm asking you.
Yeah. Yes, you certainly can.
Just quickly on Morgan McSweeney, our interview last week with Peter Mandelson obviously is still being reverberating around the world, around the West. Morgan McSweeney was the person pushing for Peter Mandelson to be the US ambassador, despite all of his baggage with Epstein. Little birdie tells me that you were not for that.
Yeah, well, I was at the inauguration, and people were just walking up to me with their phones and showing me photos of Peter Mandelson going clothes shopping with. I don't know about you,
on St Bart's, buying.
No, I don't go clothes shopping with other men. You know, that's a very intimate thing to do. It was clear that this was going to explode. And it's happened. And what I would say about Peter Mandelson, negotiated the trade deal, did a very effective job. I mean, he's an extremely effective politician. So I understand the logic of appointing him. Who else would you get? He actually basically brokered the Lisbon Treaty. I mean, that was an enormous trade deal. He also did Northern Ireland. That was a very interesting deal. Peter Mandelson is the most important. There's two in the last 40 years. Don't know what you think. The two leading politicians of the last 40 years are Peter Mandelson and Nigel Farage. I mean, that's what I think.
Why do you think Nigel Farage has sort of cut through the noise and, despite his flaws, which are well known, despite his, repeated attempts to get a seat in Parliament, etc., and Labour are desperately throwing everything they possibly can at him. He drinks too much, he smokes too much, he didn't pay enough tax. None of it seems to be sticking. What is, to me, Nigel Farage has that same sort of secret sauce that Donald Trump has, in a way that, nothing really sticks. People know the baggage and they still vote for him.
Tony Blair had that as well, by the way. It was used to be called Teflon. No, he doesn't have that. He's actually a very sincere, honest man. He's got to tune into Attlee, Starmer. Methodical, systematic action. But Attlee's cabinet was full of giants.
Do you think that? Well, no one really says that about the current state of British politics. Do you think Keir Starmer can win the next election?
Oh, yeah.
OK, and then there's two parts to that question. Will Keir Starmer win the next election?
That's up for grabs. Can he win it? Yeah, but there has to be... What we don't have right now is a coherent identity, strategic direction. And I think that this visit by Donald... That is fatal. So that's got to be discovered.
What should it be? What is that? What are we missing?
On the three things.
Go on in three succinct bullet points, please.
Okay, the first is the industrial strategy.
Yeah.
And that's on the back, building up the army. That's absolutely vital. The second is effective control of our borders.
Yeah.
That's absolutely vital too. The third is real and genuine reform of the state. AI is here. It can do a huge amount of mundane jobs.
You sound like Nigel Farage there. I've had a conversation with him many times. He's coming on tomorrow night, I hope. That is literally Reform's platform.
Oh, well, OK.
No, but Manchester is fascinating. But it's fascinating.
But that's the space. Have you
spoken to Farage about any of this?
Yeah, I'm on with Farage nearly every week on another channel, let's say.
I don't
want to upset you in any way.
Well, the channels in the West are available. But would you...
But what I'm saying is Nigel Farage deep down is a saloon bar Thatcherite. That's the first thing. The second thing, Harry, so far... He's been a Putin appeaser. This is what I've got the objection. That's the objection when I was in DC. I just said, you're crazy. I mean, really serious Republican politicians were telling me that Ukraine was a gay country, that it was an LGBT country.
Yeah,
I mean, this is an orthodox country, a very conservative country. They're crazy. And what I'm saying is the basis of Labour is that you will recognise nationalisation, state partnership and industrial strategy is authentically Labour.
Which is why Reform are presumably going very hard after those things
Yeah, but he would have, Nigel Farage would have the same problems Keir Starmer in that it will be inauthentic for him. During the Brexit campaign, he was going on about Singapore.
I think, yeah, no, Singapore on Thames. Whatever happened to that? Never quite turned up. On that theme, though, I've spoken to Farage about this and others, is if Farage, you know, as the polls look like he will, become the Prime Minister, I mean, it's still a long way away, but if the election was held tomorrow, I think he'd be walking down that
4 years.
But it is 4 years away. But again, if he walks into Downing Street and he pulls exactly the same chocolate levers that the last 4 prime ministers have found and is unable to do something, isn't that when democracy in this country becomes under a massive stress? I mean, look at what happened at the weekend. We haven't seen ordinary people taken to the streets like that in quite a long time.
No.
Tommy Robinson is obviously a controversial figure, but he is tapping into...
Totally.
He's tapping into a disquiet there.
He's tapping into a rage and a dispossession that we have to address. And Farage is leading an insurgency that our government, this Labour government, has to actually champion that insurgency. Things have got to change. I mean, that's the problem. The last 50 years will be looked back on as an era of greed, an era of waste.
Why do you think so many, so many Brits went on that march, and B, the government's response to it, as I think, has been a little bit off? Are they silly to basically say people feel less safe because of marches like this? The implication that everyone on that march is racist?
No, I mean, my view of the march is I love the crowd, I hate the stage. Those people who are on the stage are my political enemies completely. I mean, they're mucking around with all manner of race theory and this and that and the other. The people of England are tolerant people, are resolute people. And what the people on that march are saying is they feel abandonment and dispossession. And we've got to get with it. We've got to actually restore the honour of our
Starmer said to his
country.
cabinet today that he's in the fight of our...